Welcome to Notable Approvals. I am attorney Amanda Shaffer. Before I get to our case today, quick reminder to make sure you like us and follow us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and subscribe to YouTube so you don't miss any more of our lives. Today's case is about a K-1 fiancé visa, and it highlights a very interesting issue that you don't see too often, but can end up delaying things a lot. So the petitioner is a naturalized U.S. citizen from Belarus, and her fiance was a native and citizen of Belarus. They met over 10 years ago at school, and then the petitioner ended up going to work at the same employer as the beneficiary, and they started dating around 2016. They were friends for a while, then started dating. But in 2018, the petitioner decided, I want to go back to the U.S. She was already a U.S. citizen. I want to go back to the U.S. And I think she got a job offer there. So they had to split up. Not split up, but they had to separate from one another, distance-wise. So she went to California to work, and he stayed in Belarus. A few months later, he left the company too. And then later that year, he got a job in Toronto, which is obviously a lot closer to California than Belarus. And, they went back and forth for a while, seeing each other. And they decided, after spending time together, they wanted to get married. He proposed. And then we were in this position where she wanted to file the fiancé visa. He was still living in Toronto at the time. And this is where the interesting issue comes up. Hi, Tanya. Thanks for watching. So unlike a marriage-based green card or a family-based green card, if the beneficiary, the person you're applying for, is not in the U.S., then the U.S. consulate or embassy that the approval gets sent to, and eventually where the visa interview will be, is going to be for the, again, not everything but the fiance, for the immigrant visas, is generally going to be in the country that the person is from. Exceptions, of course, if, like, for example, even in this case, client was from Belarus, there's no embassy in Belarus. He had to go to Warsaw, Poland. So the difference with K-1s is that it actually, the embassy that is chosen for you to have your interview is where you reside. So that makes it easier, obviously, if you're residing in a place. I don't know why there's a difference. I couldn't tell you, but that's the way it is. So what ended up happening here is this 3 months is not a lot of time. And before I get to what happened, I want to just say why it was approved so quickly. We gave a lot of evidence. The types of evidence we gave were really detailed statements from both of them saying that they were free to marry, that they intended to marry within 90 days of his entry, how they met, how they've seen each other in the last 2 years. Those are the very basic requirements of a K-1 fiancé visa. And then there were 6 in-person meetings that we documented. I'm sure there were more, and we really only needed 1 to get approved, but the more the merrier. We wrote each of the 6 meetings where it was, and then we put pictures from it, flight confirmations, booking, flight tickets, and entry stamps. And I think they may have had some tickets to shows or something we threw in there as well. So it got approved pretty quickly. But a few weeks before it got approved, the beneficiary, he left his job and moved back to Belarus. So immediately we contacted, well, at that point it was with USCIS. So we contacted USCIS and we told them, hey, we filed a change of address and said, look, this guy's no longer in Canada. We need this when it's approved to be sent over to Warsaw. And USCIS said, you have to wait until the petition's approved and the embassy gets it, and then you make the request to the embassy to transfer it. So that is what we did. So it got approved a few weeks later, and then we contacted the Toronto embassy and we explained that our client no longer lived there. He's now back in Belarus. Can you transfer his case to Warsaw? And this was a really frustrating process. I always tell people, even if you're in the US and you're filing for something, if you can avoid moving, it's better. Not just because sometimes USCIS has some issues properly documenting change of addresses, but in this case, whenever you have to get an office or an agency to do something more than they normally do with the government, it always prolongs the process unnecessarily, because they don't act very quickly. But in this case, the Toronto was telling us to talk to Warsaw, and Warsaw was telling us to talk to Toronto, and it kind of went back and forth for a while. And it does take time for the approval to get transferred. So first we had to wait a few weeks for the approval to get transferred, and then we had to wait for one embassy transferred to another embassy, and it took a while. And I think this was actually, it got wrapped up. I don't like to say things that aren't true. Where's this approval notice here? Okay, yes, this was pre-COVID, but he didn't end up getting his visa until I think the end of last year, and it was approved in August. So usually, if you're on top of things, it's much quicker once you get the initial approval. But again, when you move, he really wouldn't have been right for him to go to Toronto for the visa interview, because he moved. He is supposed to notify them, but I'm not even sure if he had a visa to go back to Canada. Plus, it's a huge trip from Belarus. It's just not convenient. So we're very happy that things worked out for them and that he was able to get here and get married. But after having such a smooth 3-month process, it was quite frustrating dealing with the embassies. And I will say this is one of those types of situations where having an attorney really helped. Our client first tried to reach out to the embassies and it just got no feedback, or got those standard messages. And even it wasn't even an easy time for us to get results, but we were able to for him, fortunately. That is all today for notable approvals. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like us, follow us on the social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that. And we will be back tomorrow with another notable approval, and hope to see you there. Have a great day.